Yo, what's up guys, Alf here, and today I'm going to be doing a new video in the Under the Meta series where I have a look at a deck that I think is very strong and has a lot of potential, but isn't quite top tier at the moment. Looking at the strengths and weaknesses of the deck and new cards that I've put in this build as well that I think help issues that I've had with previous builds. So, in this video we're going to have a look at historic Temur Battlecrier combo with the new additions of Memory Jar and Shifting Woodland alongside Malevolent Rumble. And basically, if you're not familiar with this deck, the idea here is that we're trying to get a discount of 4 of Temur Battlecrier, which is most easily set up by getting 2 in play, which we can do by, drawing 2 naturally, or having one zenithing for the other, or having one and then copying the other with Phyrexian Metamorph. Or we can set it up with Temur Battlecrier alongside at least 3 other creatures which have 4 power. In this list, they're basically going to be Outcaster, Trailblazer, and these cards synergize incredibly well together. I'll talk about this synergy a little bit more later, but once we have the discount of 4 set up, it then enables us to win with Khan the Great Creator loops, where we can cast Khan for free, minus to get Ancestral Statue, cast Ancestral Statue and bounce itself to its own ability 50 times. Then once we've done the 50th, we bounce Khan instead off the final trigger, cast Khan again for free, then minus to get Aetherflux Reservoir, cast the Aetherflux Reservoir for free, and then as long as we have at least one other card in our hand, we can then cast that, gain 50 life off the reservoir, and then just dome the opponent for 50 to win the game. So that's basically the win condition of the deck, but I'm going to have a look at the other cards just to explain how the deck tries to set it up, and other ways the deck has of winning as well. So, we obviously want to have ramp to be able to cast Temur Battlecrier on turn 2 because, as you can see in this deck, we have basically no interaction in the main deck. So this is basically all speed, all basically just trying to go off as quickly as possible. But having said that, the key cards in the deck both have 4 power, so at worst we can just build up a big board and attack as a backup plan if the opponent does shut off Khan or has combo hate, which is a really nice backup. But in order to accelerate into these, we have Utopia Sprawl, which I think is just the best 1-mana ramp that we have in the format right now. Obviously there is some consideration in the mana base. We need to be running 14 forests in order to enable this consistently, which we are. I'll get to the mana base a little bit later, but Sprawl is not only nice at having ramp that is resilient to creature removal, but it also provides fixing, which is obviously very important when we have a triple color card as a card that we want to be able to cast on turn 2. Similarly, we've also got Birds of Paradise, which is great at fixing our colors as well. Obviously a little bit more vulnerable to interaction than Utopia Sprawl, for example, but there are a lot of decks that don't have 1-mana interaction, and the ones that do aren't always going to draw it as well. So Birds of Paradise also enables some of our fastest starts. Then we've got Fanatic of Ronus, which is another phenomenal card in this deck because it's so good curving into Trailblazer or Temur Battlecrier, right? If we cast this on turn 2 and then we have a Trailblazer or Battlecrier on turn 3, we then have access to 4 mana, which then enables us to Zenith, potentially set up a second Battlecrier or get multiples of these going. Also enables us to cast Khan, enables us to cast Metamorph, gets us close to casting Memory Jar as well. So Fanatic of Ronus provides us with extra acceleration as well, which is huge. Then Outcaster Trailblazer is such a nice card in this deck as well. Not only is it a 4-power creature for Fanatic of Ronus and Temur Battlecrier, but it also just enables us to kind of combo off alongside Battlecrier, right? Once we start getting discounts of these, we can start using our Metamorphs to copy Trailblazer, which then, once we get our Metamorph down to 1 mana, these Trailblazers basically become free, right? You copy the Trailblazer, you get another one in play, you get another discount off the Temur Battlecrier, and more importantly, when these enter play, they produce a mana of any color, which then enables us to cast another one, or, once we have multiples of these in play, then Green Sun Zenith for X equals 3 becomes 1 mana, so then we can, put a Trailblazer into play, get a green, use that green to cast Zenith for X equals 3, get another Trailblazer, then by that point you've usually got 4 power creatures in play, so then if you draw into a Khan you can combo off, if you draw into a Metamorph you can combo off, and if you draw into a Memory Jar you can combo off. And this is the really exciting thing with Memory Jar, because basically this is just a really nice combo extender in this deck, right? Not only do we have a lot of ramps, so even if we don't have Temur Battlecrier, we can just kind of empty our hand, cast it, and then refuel. But if we do have Temur Battlecrier in play, we can start reducing this down to, 0, 1, or 2 mana. Playing this, drawing 7 is just such a great combo extender, ensures that the deck doesn't fizzle out, which is one of the big issues that I was having with previous builds of the deck. It wasn't too difficult to set up Temur Battlecrier, but you could often run out of cards to cast with it if you don't have Trailblazer going alongside it. So Memory Jar is just huge as kind of a combo extender alongside the Temur Battlecrier, which is really nice. And then the other 2 cards that I've added to this deck that I think really help the matchups against the more interactive heavy decks, which is, when I was playing this deck, I felt that counter spells and discard spells were really difficult to play through because if they hit your key card, you know, it can be really difficult to just play through. The rest of your deck doesn't really synergize that well. So getting access to Shifting Woodland and Malevolent Rumble in this deck feels like it also fixes a lot of issues, because if you just look at the deck or the way the deck's constructed, getting Delirium Online is actually pretty easy. We have a decent spread. You know, we've got a reasonable number of creatures, sorceries, artifacts, enchantments, planeswalkers, and lands. And we've also got Prismatic Vista, which helps naturally get lands in the graveyard anyway. So it's really not difficult for this particular build of the deck to naturally get Delirium Online. And then I also think Malevolent Rumble is really nice at just finding the combo pieces more consistently, right? Obviously, Green Sun Zenith helping you find your Battlecry more consistently is huge as well. And I think Rumble helps to do that as well, right? You can find all of your key pieces. It can find Memory Jar, Metamorph, Karn, Trailblazer, Temur, Battlecrier. Also accelerates you into it, gives you some extra mana, and very importantly allows you to find Shifting Woodland, fills the graveyard for Shifting Woodland as well. And the key thing here is that Woodland can enable us to copy Temur Battlecry, which is the main thing, right? If you get Battlecry and play against these interactive decks and they kill it, usually with most builds that's a nightmare that you don't have to spend ages digging for it, whereas Shifting Woodland enables you to just copy it. If you've got a Battlecry in play, you could copy Trailblazer, which then you can copy with Metamorph to start getting the combo going. So Malevolent Rumble not only helps you find the combo a lot more consistently, but it also helps you, you know, enable Shifting Woodland, which then gives the deck just more resilience to interaction, which is one of the main issues that I was having with previous builds of the deck when I was trying it. And then the other really nice thing about Memory Jar is it also just ensures that you can combo off with Karn even when you're empty-handed. So once you do have the 4 discount with Karn, you know, if you have another card in your hand, you can obviously do the statue reservoir loop, but there are a number of situations where you'll have just Karn in hand, and just having a one-off Memory Jar in the sideboard is so nice at being able to go Karn, minus to get Memory Jar, and then if you've got a discount of 4, you just need a spare mana to cast the Memory Jar, you can crack it, draw 7, and then if you draw a Metamorph or another Karn, you're kind of good to go off, and then if you have more than a discount of 4, you can cast the Memory Jar for free. So again, just ensures that you don't fizzle out when Karn is the only card in your hand as well. So Memory Jar has felt like a really big upgrade to this deck for sure. Then in terms of the mana base, like I said, we do need to have a lot of forest for Utopia Sprawl. So we've got Prismatic Vista, which enables us to find forest if we need for Utopia Sprawl, but obviously can help find our off colors as well. We've got Stomping Ground and Breeding Pool, which also work for Utopia Sprawl, but also produce our off colors as well. And then the really nice thing about running 14 forests for Utopia Sprawl is it also enables you to run 14 forests to ensure that Shifting Woodland is going to be entering untapped the vast majority of the time, which is really nice. And the last two lands in the mana base are just starting towns to ensure that we have more of our off color, but still enough green sources on turn 1 to consistently go Birds of Paradise or Utopia Sprawl. Then the sideboard, the only non-Karn targets that I've got here are Dismember, which I think is really important because I feel like the worst matchups are decks where you do need the spot removal. Stuff like Auras is really difficult to race. Stuff like Val Combo is difficult to race as well. And so having Dismember in the sideboard really helps to pivot against those sorts of matchups that honestly felt kind of hopeless unless you have one of these crazy busted starts. And even against a deck like Auras, if they have Hushbringer, it's basically game over there as well. In terms of some other cards that I do think are worth considering as cards you could board in, I think the main ones you want to consider are Green Sun Zenith targets, because then running a one-of is very useful. And the main one for me was Insidious Fungus as a kind of counterplay to Torpor Orb, because obviously Torpor Orb is a fairly commonly played card right now in certain Eldrazi builds, and having Insidious Fungus in the sideboard, or potentially in the main deck if you can find room, as just a one-off that you can tutor with Zenith to then crack to kill Torpor Orb is really nice, but I decided not to go with that. You could obviously cut whatever you think is the least important sideboard card, maybe a Cityscape level or something to run that and then bring it in. But the really nice thing about having Memory Jar in the main deck now is that you can beat Hushbringer. Well, I guess maybe not Hushbringer, but you can beat those sorts of effects with 2 Temur Battlecries and Memory Jar off Karn, right? If you get 2 Temur Battlecries in play and the opponent has like a Torpor Orb or whatever, you can still go Memory Jar, draw into a Karn, minus the Karn, you know, get a Cityscape Leveler, use the Leveler to blow up the Torpor Orb, and you still have ways to play around that. But if Torpor Orb does become more popular, then Insidious Fungus does seem a little bit more worth it. If there was a Zenith tutor target that could kill both Hushbringer and Torpor Orb, then I'd be a lot more interested in it, I think. But obviously, it's much more difficult to do that in green. There isn't really a good Zenith target that you can use to kill Hushbringer, really. So I'm not running that, but you could definitely consider it. You could also potentially consider Scavenging Ooze in the sideboard as well. And one other card that I want to briefly talk about as well, we're talking about deck building with this, is Grizzled Huntmaster, which is another card I've tested fairly recently. because this is another way that synergizes well with both, Temur Battlecry and Fanatic of Ronus, because it's a 4-power creature. It's another card that we can accelerate into off Birds of Paradise and Utopia Sprawl. And then, I was also running Glasspool Mimic and those sorts of builds as a land that can double up as another card that we can exile with Huntmaster. But the big issue I had with this card is that, first of all, you're splitting your sideboard between Huntmaster and Khan, which is very difficult to start off with. It means you really wouldn't have room for Dismember, which I feel is a big issue. I feel you really need spot removal, or you kind of just auto lose to Auras and Val in a lot of matchups, which is pretty a bad spot to be in right now. And the other big issue with it was that I just think the deck's running too many 3-drops if you do this, right? You would obviously run 3 Battlecrier, potentially 3 Trailblazer if you also wanted to be able to tutor it with Huntmaster, but you're still running a ton of 3-drops. The curve felt pretty clunky, so this is an interesting idea in the deck, but it didn't really feel worth it to me. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was an interesting build of the deck as well. In terms of the other wishboard targets, I'll quickly go through them all. We got Tormod's Crypt's Graveyard Hate, Aether Spellbomber's Creature Removal, which I think is the best option that we have whilst Auras is in the format, right? There aren't the green creature removal or the colourless creature removal is way overcosted, whereas Aether Spellbomb is pretty efficient, especially against a deck like Auras. Haywire Might just to remove artifacts and enchantments. Pithing Needle against a variety of decks. Damping Sphere obviously does hurt you as well, but against Lotus Field combo, I really wanted to have access to this because it really hurts their deck way more than it hurts yours, and you can just win by attacking them with 4-power creatures. You don't need to combo off in that matchup, really, if you can keep their combo in check. Liquid Metal Coating is obviously kind of like a little combo with Khan. If you have starts where you get Khan down and the opponent's on an empty board, especially against a deck like Eldrazi, being able to grab Coating and just start taking out their lands is really big. One of Metamorph in the sideboard is really big as like a combo extender, right? If you have a Battlecrier in play and a Khan, you can use the Khan, grab Metamorph, copy the Battlecrier, and then you've got 2 Battlecriers in play, and then obviously if you've got a Memory Jar or another Khan, you can just combo off there. If not, the opponent then has to kill the Khan, or you can just combo off the next turn. So having access to this out the sideboard is really big as like a combo extender. Then we've obviously got Reservoir and Ancestral Statue for the combo. We've got Memory Jar as like a combo extender if Khan is the only card that we've got in our hand. Or if we just have a lot of ramp and Khan and we're out of gas, we can just grab Memory Jar to refuel. And then finally we've got Cityscape Leveler as basically an answer to anything. Like I said, if the opponent does have a Hushbringer or a Torpor Orb in play, we can stack multiple Battlecriers, crack Memory Jar, use Khan to find Cityscape Leveler to take out their card. And it's also just useful to have like another top end card that can just solo the game if the opponent is really focused on shutting off the combo side of the deck. So, like I said, the deck has felt very good to me. I think it's very well positioned, fairly well positioned at the moment, because I feel like any deck that can combo fast is in a good position right now, whilst Eldrazi is just like keeping all the fair decks out of the format, really. But in terms of the weaknesses of the deck, I think the biggest one is just that it doesn't have any interaction main deck, and even post sideboard for Dismember isn't a ton, which means that matchups against other combo decks are just a pure race for the most part. So Lotus Field, obviously you can go Khan, grab Damping Sphere, but for the most part it's just a race. Same against Auras, same against Val. It's basically just a race in those matchups, and on average those decks can be a little faster than you, so not having much interaction in the main deck is difficult. And then, like I said as well, interactive heavy decks can be quite tricky as well. Now, they're not that popular right now because Eldrazi is really doing a good job at keeping them out of the format for the most part, but you still are going to face decks like Jund, you still are going to face decks like Dimir, for example, and having Woodland is a really good way to counteract that, so that's less of an issue. But I think the main issue with this deck that's holding it back is just that you don't have much interaction, which means matchups against the other fast combo decks are a bit of a die roll, if that makes sense. But either way, I've had a ton of fun with the deck. I think it's a really interesting deck to play. I think it's very cool, the interactions between Trailblazer and Battlecrier. The deck can go off on turn 3, with pretty decent regularity as well, which is a really good sign in Historic right now. So that's the deck overall. As always, I'll have the importable deck list down in the description if you want to try it yourself. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions about the deck at all. And I also want to give a quick shout out as well to As It Is Required, who they gave me the idea of trying Memory Jar in this deck in the first place. In my set review video, they suggested it as a Khan tutor target for this sort of deck, which then led me to trying it in the main deck. So shouts out to them. Next up, I've got some gameplay so you guys can see the deck in action, including a loss that I wanted to include just to highlight some of the issues the deck has, especially against other fast linear decks. But either way, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Big up! Okay, so we're going second here. And we're up against a Lotus deck. So if we went against Lotus, there's maybe a chance we keep this. You know, ramping into Khan is pretty good against decks like Eldrazi. This hand looks much better to me, though. And this is tricky what to put back, because if we put back Rumble and they kill the Birds of Paradise, we don't have blue mana. But this hand, if they don't have much interaction, we can potentially win on turn 3, right? We go Birds of Paradise, Battlecrier, then copy the Battlecrier with Metamorph, which should only cost 2 because of the Battlecrier, and then we can win with the Khan loop into casting Fnatic. So, you know, if the Birds gets killed here, then we're in trouble. But if it doesn't and we can resolve this first Battlecrier, I think we've actually got a decent chance here, especially because it looks like we're against Boros Energy and they don't tend to have that much main deck interaction. You know, obviously Bombardment's the main one, and they obviously could have, you know, Galvanic Discharge or Static Prison or something like that. But if they don't have interaction, if they don't have a Goblin Bombardment or something here, then I think we might be able to win this turn. Or, you know, next turn, this coming turn at least. Okay, there's another Guide of Souls. And there's a Johnny. Okay, they tap out. So I think we should be good to win here, even though the opponent has had a very, very good start. You know, most non-combo decks would really struggle to beat this, even Eldrazi likely. So yeah, pretty sick to be able to get a win against an energy start this fast. So next turn doesn't really matter what we draw. We're basically in the lead on Metamorph copying the Battlecrier, which will make the Khan cost 0, and then we have a mana spare, so we go Khan, minus, grab statue, loop the statue, and then cast the Fnatic. Now in this situation we can actually cast 3 spells, because we can go Zenith X equals 3 for Trailblazer twice, which produces a green into Fnatic. But I'm going to show you what to do if you only had 1 card in hand that you can cast, right? So here you want to start at 12 and basically just keep looping statue until you're above 50 life. If the opponent, especially if the opponent has mana open and they're playing a red deck, you want to go a little bit further than 51, just so you don't get killed by like a burn spell or a Goblin Bombardment or whatever. So yeah, you basically just want to keep looping this, count up until you're over 50. Then on the last one, bounce Khan, and then grab Aetherflux Reservoir. So rather than you just seeing me looping statue multiple times, I'll just edit it out until the last bounce. Okay, so that should put us just over 50 now. If we bounce the Khan here, then we can cast the Khan, grab the Reservoir, and then cast Green Sun Zenith X equals 3. Now again, you know, most games you wouldn't have to do up to 50 off the first one, but I just wanted to highlight what it would look like if you only had 1 castable card in your hand. So as you see, life total goes to 55, get a green mana off the Trailblazer, and then we can just dome the opponent for 50. So against Energy, this is an interesting one in terms of sideboarding, because we've got the Dismembers here, but I don't really feel like they're as important as they are against decks like Auras or Val, where taking out specific creatures is really important. I actually think that, as we saw last game, just trying to race to the combo is probably the best plan, because, you know, Energy is a fast deck, but oftentimes they're not as fast as the combo decks here. And I think rather than trying to take out specific cards, that you saw last game how quickly they went wide, that I don't really think Dismember is going to be that effective. Now, if we see they board in hate creatures against us, then I think Dismember is important. But, you know, Energy don't typically run cards that are effective hate cards against our deck. So I think I just like keeping the main deck as it is, as streamlined as possible, to just try and get, just try and race, basically. So this hand looks pretty nice to me, right? We've got Sprawl, we've got Fnatic as a backup in case they do have like a Fragment Reality. So we can potentially cast Battlecry on turn 2 here. If they do have an answer for Utopia Sprawl, we can obviously cast Fnatic instead, or potentially Rumble as well. Now Stadium Headliner is a little bit of a concern, because that does give them some interaction, right? If we do slam Battlecry here, well, yeah, I was going to say, if they get multiple bodies in play, they can potentially use the Headliner to take out the Battlecry here, which is a bit of an issue. So we've got something to think about. I think I'm going to lead on the Fnatic here, because that's slightly more difficult for them to kill with the Stadium Headliner. So I'm going to lead on the Rumble first, so that we can, you know, cast Fnatic this turn and potentially get more combo pieces as well. I was ideally hoping to find a Metamorph off that Rumble, but a backup Battlecry is not bad. So, I mean, we just got to hope they don't have an answer to the Fnatic here, because that would really unlock our hand, right? We go Battlecrier into potentially Khan to get a Metamorph. Oh, wow. I was going to say, if they don't find As long as they don't find a bombardment or another Ajani, I think we're good here, because they would really struggle to take out the... Well, I mean, they could have obviously taken out the Fnatic with the Stadium headliner, but the big issue here is now they've got a crazy follow-up play for next turn, right? They can just keep activating Ajani every single turn, so I think we're very unlikely to be able to win here now. If they hadn't flipped Ajani, I think we've got a good chance, but the fact they have guaranteed way to kill whatever we play this turn is a real issue. So if they hadn't found another Ajani there, I think we actually have a good chance of winning, but because they can just keep spamming Ajani here, I don't think we've got a good avenue to get back into the game. And this kind of highlights the issue with this deck sometimes, is if the opponent does interact with you early and they pair it with a fast clock, it can be difficult to recover. But I think the opponent did have to get pretty lucky to get in that spot anyway, finding another Ajani off the Amps Raptor. Although I guess the same could have been said if they'd found a Goblin Bombardment as well. So, but yeah, going into game 3, being on the play, I think we've got a much better chance. Obviously, being on the play gives us just that extra little bit of speed that can make the difference. But yeah, I'll just edit out the rest of sideboarding and we'll get into game 3. Okay, so we're obviously on the play here. And this hand looks nice to me, right? We've got double Battlecrier into Memory Jar, which is huge, right? If we go Battlecrier on 2, Battlecrier on 3, and then we have another land to go Memory Jar, we can just potentially win. Oh, okay. Metamorph makes that even easier now. Now we can use Metamorph, copy Battlecrier, and we've already got the we've already got the mana spare to go for Memory Jar. So we've really got to hope they don't find interaction off this Amp Raptor here. Okay, there's a Ajani. I mean, that's normally good, but I think it's just not going to be enough in this situation. Right, they get a bunch of energy, can't really attack with the Guide of Souls, and then now we can go Battlecrier, Metamorph, Memory Jar, and now if we draw another Memory Jar, another Metamorph, I guess another Metamorph doesn't really get us there, but if we draw another Memory Jar or another Karn, we just win this turn, which is huge. Okay, we do 2 Memory Jars, that's sick. And I have actually been thinking whether it would be better to run 4 Memory Jar in the main deck, but having the one of in the sideboard for Karn makes Karn just such a better draw. So here we can play a land and just go Zenith, X equals 3 for Trailblazer. I didn't actually, for some reason Arena wasn't highlighting that I could play lands. I kind of missed that earlier, but anyway, yeah, we can go Zenith, X equals 3 again, get another Trailblazer, draw another card, get another green mana, and then even if we completely whiff here, we can just crack Memory Jar again. This is what I mean, Memory Jar just helps so much at ensuring you can win on on earlier turns much more consistently. And now we can just go Karn, minus, grab Ancestral Statue, do the loop again. And then, thankfully, we've got, multiple cards here that we can cast. So we don't need to do the full 50, right? We can just do, what is that, like 35 is the difference between 15 and 50. So about 18-ish. And then we can cast 2 spells to put us over 50. So, again, I'll edit out the statue loop so you don't have to just watch this endlessly. And then we can get to the actual win condition. Okay, so that should be enough. Now we can just bounce the Karn instead. Replay the Karn. Minus, grab the Reservoir. And then we can go Zenith again. X equals 3. Grab another Trailblazer. Get another green mana. And then just cast the Rumble for the win. Go Trailblazer. Draw some cards. And again, we drew into Metamorph, drew into another Trailblazer as well. So, even if we didn't have the Rumble, there's a chance that we could draw more if you need. But it's always better to just play it safe with this. And then, yeah, we got there nice. That felt really good. Okay, so we're going second here. And, I mean, maybe we can keep a one-lander with Sprawl. If we get hit by Thoughtseize, we're in real trouble. And outside of that, the hand isn't that great anyway. This hand, though, looks better for sure, right? Double Battlecrier. Rumble could help us find a Karn or a Memory Jar. This could potentially just win on turn 3, maybe. So, and I think we want to keep the Woodland here in case we're against an interactive deck. Now, obviously, if the Utopia Sprawl gets hit by a Fragment Reality, we could be in trouble, but we'll see. Turn 1 Noble Hierarch. I'm honestly not sure what that is. Could be a number of things, to be fair. I have faced a few Blink decks recently. Oh, interesting. Guide of Souls. Oh, okay. So it's just Val. They're using Noble Hierarchy, even though it can't produce red, which is, I guess, is the Exalted better than Birds of Paradise producing red? Not 100% sure, but I guess if the mana base is alright, the extra power could be worth it. Ah, okay, yeah. They just have the turn 3 win. This is the issue with this deck, right? Without interaction, it's just 2 ships passing in the night, which I think, to be fair, is kind of just a big issue with Eldrazi at the moment. So in terms of sideboarding, very simple. Always bringing Dismember against decks like Val and Auras, and I always cut Malevolent Rumble because, they're not that interactive either, so needing to set up the graveyard for Woodland isn't as important. But I have been considering making kind of a rant video about Eldrazi because I do think the effect Eldrazi is having on the format is causing Best of 3 to become very similar to Best of 1, where the decks just don't really interact anymore. Everyone's just trying to race. You either play Eldrazi or you play a fast aggro or a fast combo deck, and you just try and race. And it does feel like this matchup, kind of 2 ships passing in the night, but, maybe I'll make a rant video separately. This hand looks decent. I mean, we are missing a 4-drop to trigger the Fanatic. Obviously, Battlecry would be ideal here, but we've got access to a lot of mana here. And, we can potentially get Karn down early off this hand, which, obviously there's no great Karn hate target for this matchup specifically, but, maybe we could grab a Spell Bomb just to keep them off the combo for a turn or 2. Oh, okay, that changes things. I mean, I was tempted to still just run out the Fanatic and the Birds of Paradise anyway here, but I think getting down Battlecry has higher upside here because it just increases the quality of our draws quite a lot. Okay, Prosperous Innkeeper is actually decent for us here because it enables us to go for Karn, which then shuts off the mana off the treasure tokens for them. And then I think we just grab Metamorph here because if we survive this turn, which we should do considering they don't have access to the treasure tokens, right? There's no way they can go Tradasara plus Val here, I don't believe. And then next turn, hopefully we can just go Metamorph, copy the Battlecrier, Memory Jar, and then or even if we didn't have the Karn in play here, we could go Memory Jar to refuel, but because we've got the Karn in play, we can just do the statue loop here, right? Because we've got the Memory Jar, we've got the Birds of Paradise, so yeah, okay, the writing's on the wall here, right? They know what we've got. We've got the win here basically straight away. So again, the nice thing about this sort of deck is if you don't enjoy sideboarding or you find it daunting, you basically only have to sideboard in Dismember over Rumble in matchups like Auras, like Val. Just any deck where you feel you need the spot removal to be able to race. So yeah, if you're not a fan of sideboarding, this sort of deck will be really nice. And I do think this is probably the best Karn deck at the moment. I think Devotion just does a poor imitation of Eldrazi, and I think right now having an actual combo is a big upside. So here we want to keep for sure, and I think we're going to put back the Zenith because we really want the Dismember's interaction. We want the Battlecrier. I mean, maybe that's greedy, but maybe we're supposed to keep the Zenith because then we can go Zenith X equals 3, Battlecrier, and then Karn. I mean, it's close. Like, the Battlecrier line is much more focused on just trying to combo as fast as possible. But I think, if the opponent has any interaction of their own, Dismember becomes better, right? They're going to be focused on slowing us down a little bit as well. So the X equals 2, and drawing another Battlecry here is nice. That basically replaces the Zenith that we lost. And then we're definitely going to Dismember here before they get a chance to... I was going to say we're going to Dismember before they can sacrifice the Prosperous Innkeeper to Ritual, but now they've got another creature. I think we just have to wait and see what they hit. Right, if they sack a Hierarch to get a Tradasara or a Val, we kill the Val or Tradasara during the end step, which is what we're going to do here. Force them to find another one, and then hopefully that buys us enough time to just get both these Battlecries into play. Ooh, Dismember's actually really nice here, because now we can cast it for free. Then, we can take out the Innkeeper, which makes Tradasara a bad draw. Also means they need another creature for Birthing Ritual. Now, there's maybe an argument to hold on to Dismember, actually, because we could use it as a way to go infinite with Khan, but now we drew another Khan. And to be fair, if the opponent didn't cast any creatures, we don't have a good target for dismember. We're not going to dismember our own creature. Okay, opponent just keeps it up, so we got there. Nice. Okay, so we're on the play here. And, I mean, I'm typically not a massive fan of keeping one landers, but on the play where we don't have to worry about Thoughtseize and having 2 pieces of 1 mana ramp, I think we can afford to keep this. We are against a Lotus deck, which is pretty scary. I think Lotus is probably the, or Lotus decks in general are some of the toughest matchups for this sort of deck, because that could be Auras, which is difficult, it could be Val, which is difficult. Both of those are reasonable matchups, but it's just whoever has the fastest start, whoever's on the play versus draw for the most part, which is tricky to navigate. Boreal Grazer. I mean, that has to be Lotus Field, right? I mean, I don't understand why they're not running crop rotation instead of Grazer, or even exploration. But yeah, drawing a second land here is huge. Now, I think we just go for the Battlecrier here, and then next turn, we should just be good to combo off, I think, right? We can go Zenith X equals 3. Actually, I guess we might be 1 mana short. I think we need a land here to go infinite, but the opponent doesn't have Lotus Field set up yet, and, they've got Deserted Temple, so that is obvious what they are. Okay, interesting they're on a Rumble build. Actually, if they are on green, they probably are on crop rotation. It's just strange they're not running exploration over our Boreal Grazer. So, I'm just trying to think the best way to sequence this. I think we might actually be alright this turn, right? We can lead on the Trailblazer, which is essentially free because we get a mana back and it, creates an extra discount for the Battlecrier. And then I think we go for Battlecrier here. And then I was going to say we don't have a way to go infinite with Khan, but now we do. I was going to say we can just go Khan minus grab Damping Sphere, cast Damping Sphere for free, and then they're basically just locked out of the game and we can just beat them down with 3-4 power creatures. But now that we've drawn the Metamorph, we can just do the statue loop, cast Metamorph for free, and then, do the Reservoir. Wow, opponent generous there. They're willing to scoop it up, even though Metamorph was the card required to win there. Again, no need to sideboard here. Dismember is the only card that I bring in, really, and it's only really good. Well, it's only really necessary against other decks that can race you. I guess, that would cover Auras, Val, Wizards as well, probably. But outside of that, I just keep the main deck as it is and just try and be, as linear as fast as possible and basically just try and race in the majority of matchups anyway. Can't keep a no-lander, obviously, so this is an immediate ship back. Oh, wow. Okay, so we're going down to 5, which isn't great. Oh, wow, and this is just a bad 5. I mean, I don't think we can afford to win on a 4. I think we just got to keep 5 and hope to draw some, draw acceleration into Battlecrier here. Yeah, I think we'll put back... I don't think Woodland is likely to matter, although it's probably slightly better than the Vista here. Okay, there's Trailblazer. But without any acceleration, I imagine that's largely too slow. We basically need the opponent to have a slow start here. Okay, there's Sylvan Scrying. Again, I'm pretty sure they should be on crop rotation. If I guess they could be on both, though. Some of my early builds with crop rotation were also running, Sylvan Scrying as a 1 or 2 of. Okay, there's the Lotus Field. We do have the double Battlecrier here. So, if they don't have the Temple or a way to find it, we might actually be alright here, right? If we get to untap, we can actually potentially win next turn, depending on how good this Memory Jar is. So now we can go Battlecrier, make Metamorph free, copy the Battlecrier, Memory Jar, and just hope to find another Memory Jar or a Khan. But I mean, drawing 7 is a lot, so... Oh, they have Consign. Okay. I guess it does kind of suck that Consign happens to hit this deck because it hits both Khan and Memory Jar. But even though they've taken out the Memory Jar, we still have double Trailblazer as a follow-up play here, which isn't bad. And we might just rely on the beatdown game plan this game. Again, that's risky against Lotus Field because giving them time is a big issue. But it doesn't look like they have a second Lotus Field. It doesn't look like they have a deserted temple yet either. So we'll go Trailblazer here. Into Trailblazer, draw us a card. We just want to get bodies on the board. Maybe I'm supposed to attack first, actually, in case they do have interaction. And then we have kind of more information. But yeah, I don't think it'll end up massively mattering here. Okay, they're sinking the Stupor, so maybe it will actually. And Floodmore, yeah, I think we probably should have attacked first here. Although having said that, they're now bouncing our creatures, which will draw us more cards off Trailblazer. So, Metamorph is still free here because we got 3 creatures before power in play. Then we can just copy the Trailblazer again. Draw 2, produce another mana. Wow, another Trailblazer. That's sick. So I'll produce a blue here because we want to cast Battlecrier after these Trailblazers, ideally. But yeah, we're drawing a ton of cards. We might be able to combo off this turn, even through 2 pieces of interaction. Wow, double Memory Jar. Yeah, I think we should be good now. So now we can go Memory Jar. Double Memory Jar, basically. And then I think we'll go Battlecry because it will draw us a bunch of cards. Ordinarily, best to just crack Jar and not use up our excess mana here, but this basically just ensures we're not going to fizzle out because it's going to draw us a bunch of extra cards, right? Okay. So I think we'll lead on Rumble just in case that finds us a card. If not, we can just start cracking the Memory Jars here. Okay, so we Rumble, crack the Memory Jar, and then, we've still got a mana spare. Hopefully we can find, Khan or another Memory Jar. Well, we don't, but we can use Zenith to find another Trailblazer here. Get a green back. Then we can use Metamorph to copy Trailblazer again. Okay, last Trailblazer out of the deck. We need to be aware of that for future Zeniths. But we've still got a... we should still have a Battlecrier in the deck, I think, from what we just saw. So use Metamorph, copy the Trailblazer again. It's kind of weird we haven't seen a Khan yet. Must all be near the bottom. Wow, okay. Still not found one. So I think we can go Zenith for X equals 3, get that last Battlecrier in play. Oh, what? Oh, we must have drawn it. I completely missed that. So there's still a chance that we can fizzle, but we got pretty unlucky so far. Okay, there's a Khan, thankfully. So now we can just go for the Khan loop. Okay, and the opponent doesn't make us play it out, so we got there nice. That felt really good. Oh, against rank 1. It'll be interesting to see what they're playing. Wow, okay. Can't keep that one, obviously. I think we've got to keep this. I don't love keeping 1 landers in general, but with 2 pieces of 1 mana acceleration, I think we can get away with it. But against Lurrus here, always a scary sight for this sort of deck. Okay, Sacred Foundry, so could be Auras, could be Energy still. Could also be Val, I guess, as well. So it doesn't really give us an idea what they're on. Okay, Amped Raptor, so again, could really be anything. Oh, wow, they hit Sheltered by Ghosts. Yikes. Okay, so we're definitely against Auras here, but that's a rough hit for us. Losing the Sprawl there is really bad for us. Because we could have, either gone Fnatic plus... Fnatic plus Birds of Paradise or plot the Trailblazer. I think we just got to run out the Fnatic here and hope to draw a 3rd land. Okay, there's Light Pause. Griff Spoon, so they could get Hammerhead here, give the Light Paws haste, and get in for a ton of damage. Okay, they go for Ethereal Armor instead. Interesting. So they get in for 4. Really want to see a land here. Yikes. Okay, we don't find a land. I mean, we could plot the Trailblazer. We could cast the Trailblazer, play Birds of Paradise. I think I'm going to go for Rumble, though. We really want to try and find another land here if possible. But, yeah, this is looking pretty rough. I think we'll just go for Birds of Paradise here and just hope that the Fanatic survives. And then we can at least go, Trailblazer Khan, possibly get Aether Spellbomb. But the fact they're suiting up 2 creatures here makes that even less effective, I think. But yeah, I think we're in real trouble here, right? We can obviously block the Amp Raptor with Birds of Paradise to keep us alive, which I think is the line here. Because I don't believe the Amp Raptor has Trample, right? No, okay, it doesn't have Trample. Oh, now they get Hammer Hand. Yeah, they can make Birds of Paradise not block. So that was pretty rough. I think if they hadn't hit Sheltered by Ghosts off the Amp Raptor there, we'd have actually had a decent chance. So definitely want the Dismembers here, though. This is one of the, Auras, Val, and Wizards are the main 3 matchups where I feel like we really need Dismember to be able to, basically race when the opponent doesn't... Well, basically when the opponent has a slightly faster start. Not to mention that, 2 out of 3 of those decks already have interaction in the main deck, so... I mean, we've got a lot of acceleration here, but Triple Khan is pretty clunky. I think we're going to have to ship this one back. This one looks a little better, though, and... I think we'll put back the Memory Jar here. Because we can go, Birds of Paradise into Trailblazer, make a green, put the other Birds of Paradise into play, and then we can, then we've got a decent amount of mana to be able to go Khan, grab a Spellbomb potentially. There's Fragment on Birds of Paradise, so that slows us down a fair bit. We've still got a backup ramp option here, though. And then we'll see what they cast. I mean, Hushbringer would be rough because we don't have Dismember. Okay, there's Giver of Runes, and they plot Demonic Ruckus. That makes Khan using Spellbomb way less appealing to me now. Unless they just have the Giver, which... I mean, it's possible, but... So I think I'm going to plot the Trailblazer here. Again, that plays into Hushbringer, but I feel if they have Hushbringer here, we're not beating that anyway. Okay, there's Light Paws, and now we're in real trouble. Now we basically need to find a Zenith or a Temur Battlecrier. So they exile the Birds of Paradise, and now Khan plus Spellbomb isn't even good here, right? Because they can protect the Light Paws. Bouncing the Giver isn't that great either. I think we just need to go Trailblazer into Trailblazer and hope to draw something here. But I think we basically needed, Zenith or... Temur Battlecry there. Hopefully we draw something good. Memory Jar, not what we're looking for in this spot. So now we just got to ship it back, and we're probably likely dead here. I mean, again, if they kept a creature heavy hand and don't have many auras, then we've got a chance, but... we can... If we cast Khan, we're tapped out. If we cast... we can't cast Memory Jar at the moment. Wow, another Sheltered by Ghosts. So this kind of highlights the issue that this deck has against other fast linear decks, right? We really can't afford to have that much interaction. And considering the opponent... okay, now we draw the Dismember. It's just too late, though, unfortunately. I mean, I guess we can cast Khan and hopefully make a misplay and attack the Khan down. This is basically like our only line here, I think. But yeah, this game or this match in general kind of highlights the issue that this deck can have against other decks that pair, interaction with a fast clock. So yeah, going to scoop it up and GG's to the opponent.